Hey there, I'm Sarah Zarella, a portrait and wedding photographer and your host for Wedding Secrets Unveiled. This is a podcast where we cut through the complexity of wedding planning, leaving you with everything you need to know directly from the industry experts. If you want to simplify your wedding planning while having fun, of course, you came to the right place. Join me while I guide you through your planning, starting from your engagement to your big day where you say, I do. After photographing for the past 19 years, I am sharing with you tips and tricks to cut through the excess noise because I believe from the moment you said yes, your planning experience should be a magical time in your life. Here you will find episodes that are fun, stress-free, and straight to the point with a fresh, honest take on the reality of what you really need to know about planning your perfect day. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Wedding Secrets Unveiled podcast, friends. Today we have Pamela Dorsey from PDR Events and New England Invitations. Pamela and I have known each other for many, many years. She actually was my event planner at my wedding. She helped me plan a 3-day extravaganza on Labor Day weekend about 7 years ago. But I have her on today for you to talk all about her paper product business, which is New England Invitations. She's going to go over what the latest trends are, the different forms of printing, what can affect pricing, turnaround times, along with printing methods. She's also going to get into a lot of little tips and nuggets and tricks that you can think about when you're getting into your own paper products. We're going to go into turnaround times for save the dates, along when you should send out your invitations. So if you are beginning to think about your invitations, your save the dates, your menu cards, this is definitely the episode for you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my very upbeat, amusing conversation with Pamela. She's a force to be reckoned with. Well, welcome, Pamela.
Hi, Sarah.
I'm excited to have you on the podcast today.
Oh, me too. I've been looking forward to it.
So for those people who are listening, Pamela actually was my event planner at my own wedding. It was a 3-day extravaganza that you helped coordinate, plan, and tamed the beast of the personalities that were all in the fam over here. So you've been around for a while, Pamela, right?
Yes, you can definitely say that.
So with that said, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners, let everybody know who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Certainly. My name is Pamela Dorsey. I'm a wedding and event planner as well as owner of New England Invitations that's located on Main Street in East Greenwich. I've been a wedding planner for over 15 years. I've produced weddings in Rhode Island, especially Newport, Palm Beach, New York City. And I also have a wonderful invitation company called New England Invitations, where I produce invitations for clients not only in Rhode Island, but throughout New England and abroad.
That's great to know because we do have a lot of listeners that are not just in the New England area. So it's nice to know that you service not only for your event planning, but for your paper products all across the country.
Yes, and with COVID, everybody, and we use the word, had to pivot. So with the invitations and everything, we did a lot virtually. So that really catapulted my business to go outside of New England. Where I'll send them some samples. We'll go back and forth on colors. We can do beautiful storyboards. So it's not only Rhode Island, New England, it's New York and beyond.
What I wanted to do today is really hone in on your paper products and that portion of your business. But before we do, let's talk a little bit about your event planning, kind of what you do, and just tell us a little bit about your event planning before we get into the paper product portion of your business.
Certainly. I started my event planning business about 15 years ago. Before that, I was a buyer for a major retail company, so I dealt with a lot of textiles. I was also a planner for that company, so I dealt with numbers, spreadsheets, and things of that nature. And all of that I took together, and I developed PDR Events. And I service, as I said, New England, Newport. I've done weddings in Palm Beach and New York City. And so I really concentrate on full wedding planning. I love the designs and the aesthetics of it. I also love the details and logistics, putting together timeline. And most importantly, I really love my clients and building a great rapport with them and their family.
I love it. So what came first, event planning or New England invitations?
So event planning came first, and 2 years into event planning, and this is before Etsy and everything that you could get on the internet, I had taken a couple clients to an invitation store, and we went looking, and they told us that they just do invitations. They don't have table numbers. They didn't have place cards. Well, after I was a buyer for a major retail company, I went into invitations while I was having my son, and I was a stay-at-home mom. I was doing that part-time. So after 2 years in PDR events, I said, you know what? I can do this. I know exactly what the client wants. I'm not finding it out there, so I can start this. So that's where New England Invitations came about, and I started to get into paper products, and I really loved it.
I love it. And it makes sense, too, because you're on scene.
Exactly.
And so by you being on at events, you could see the trends. You could see where people need certain things and their needs and their wants, and then you could just lead them right into like a full-stop shop service.
Exactly. And I have to say, one of the specialty items that we do is we do menus, but they have their name on it, and it serves as a place card as well as a menu. And with this, I've seen the expression on people's faces when they pick up the menu, just expecting to read what's on there, and then they see that it's personalized as they're walking around the tables. So I love, not being a wedding planner, I would never get to see that. But I get to see that where they're looking at not only the tablescapes, maybe a beautiful custom table number, but then they see their name, and it's specialized into the menu.
That's so interesting that you bring that up, because you're right. It's sometimes the personal touches that go a long way. So I'm sure a lot of listeners right now, they're probably thinking, okay, I'm getting married, or I'm planning my wedding, or my sister or my daughter or my or themselves are planning it. And they're probably wondering, like, what can we do with paper products? So let's just dive right in. Tell us a little bit about what paper products you see at the weddings, what you can do, and then we'll kind of talk about trends.
Certainly. One big trend that I see, and we're getting to the invitations, is envelope liners and really personalized. This year, every single order that I've taken had an envelope liner. And with that, it was everything from beautiful moire fabric in a black and a cream to a beautiful watercolor of their venue. Also, we did the mountains in Jackson, New Hampshire. So there are so many. We're getting into like really specific with the envelope liners, where before it would just be a color. We've done initials, we've done gold foil, just really special. We did a watercolor that just was for a Block Island wedding. And then from there, with their liners, we've been incorporating what they've done, because it's only a special touch to the invitation, into table numbers. For instance, we had leftover liners, so we cut them, and I had one of my calligraphers actually do all the numbers on them, and then I adhered them to cardstock. So this gorgeous custom liner, the backing that had floral and a little gold foil through it, was actually taken and used for their table numbers as well. And then we played off those colors with the menus. So really the trends I see, everybody's getting back to a little bit more basics with the classic traditional invitations, but definitely with the spin on the liners.
So when you say that everybody's getting back to the classic, invitation, what do you mean by that?
So we had a time where there were vellum overlays, there were the pockets, things of that nature. People wanted a lot of color in them. What I'm seeing now is the color in the pop is with the envelope liner and maybe the wedding weekend card, but people are going back to still wanting the ecru or the white on a beautiful pound cardstock with maybe just a little motif for the main invitation and the RSVP card. Where before it was, can I have the floral accents? We had a huge play on the craft paper when everything was more the rustic. So it's definitely getting away from that. What I see what's really trending is a wax seal for the envelope, or a wax seal with a ribbon around it on the invitations. But it's everything is just getting back to a little bit more of that classic look with a custom spin of what the client's vision is.
That's interesting, because in the photography world, what's trending right now is the lay flats.
Huge.
I mean, honestly, I hear it like I can hear it in my dreams. Lay flat.
Yes.
flat.
And Sarah, now for the floral designers, and we say, can you bring some flowers for the lay flat, or put a line item in for the lay flat, so when you drop it off at the house or at the venue or wherever they're getting ready. So it is huge. And I've also seen brides have ribbons. They're like, okay, here's 3 ribbons for my lay flat.
Yes.
Here's this. So it's
and the only
huge.
reason why you say that is like I'm chuckling to myself because as you're telling me all about what you're saying, the trend is, I'm literally like I'm picturing all my lay flats, with the extra flowers from the florist. And you're right, that's exactly what I'm seeing. I mean, obviously everybody's unique, but I am seeing a trend. And you're right, it is. People would tell me, please make sure that they get the inside of the flap. I mean, I would, but it's just interesting that you're right. The inside of the envelope, and I'm starting to see like that one element start to go on all of their paper products. Like you talked about, like a seal or like a picture of the venue. Like I'll see it in the inside of the envelope, and then all of a sudden now I'll see it in their menu card. It's just an interesting that. It's just I'm chuckling to myself because the lay flats are huge. And I'm photographing what you're talking about.
Exactly. And I have to say, too, like where you were talking about how we're taking something from the invitation and bringing it into the day of stationery, monograms are still huge.
Yes.
I mean, monograms in crest. Sometimes they're just in a gold foil. Sometimes they're just in a color. Now it's really popular that they're in a watercolor. But we're still seeing crests and initials, whether they're a monogram or the full 3 initials, are still very popular. And just so that everybody knows, it is for the monogram, it is usually the new last name, and then it is the bride's name's initial first, followed by the groom's initial first. Just a little FYI.
I like that tip. There you go, a little nugget.
A little bit of knowledge. We get that.
Coming from you from Pamela.
Yes.
Okay, Pamela, so we talked about invitations, right? And kind of like the trends that you're seeing with invitations. What is some other trends that you're seeing with other paper products?
Certainly. One of the trends that I see, as I was saying again, is people aren't doing just the standard table numbers and things of that nature. People are really embellishing. I had someone put dried flowers on theirs. I had somebody else, we actually did, it's called a die cut. So we actually cut them out in this shape that she wanted. So I'm seeing trends in that. Also, as I stated earlier, menus in different colors to give a little pop to the table, or to play off the linen, or to play off the flowers. If you do come to see me, I always ask the questions when people are talking about day of stationery. I always tell them the invitation sets the tone for your wedding. Do you want black tie? Do you want rustic? Is this in the mountains? Is this on the seashore? So we start from there. Then, and sometimes the invitation is strictly black tie, but then we get to the venue, and the venue is by the sea. And they don't want to be literal nautical or anything, but they're like, you know what? I have a lot of color. I do have cream linens, and my chargers are in off-white. Well, with that, did you want to pull a color for the flowers to put on your menu? So I really get into, with the client, what their tablescape looks like. And are they a silver or a gold person, or did they want to do white, or do they want to do cream? So with the trends, it is adding a little bit more color to their tablescapes. And then place cards we're still doing a lot of place cards, but one thing that I see that's a huge trend that I just did in the last wedding is boards that have the place cards on them. And then we also do acrylics, which are really cool because they're see-through, they have all the names on them. You can put flowers and candles behind them to make them really pop. So the acrylic boards with their place cards, with their names on them, the tall boards that stand alone with place cards on them, or they're etched on it. A lot of freestanding items that I see for place cards, that's a really big trend.
It's interesting you bring that up. So it's funny because the trend, we're using the word trend, but it really is a trend. I mean, for us, when we're in the event industry, we pay attention to the details, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what I photograph. That's how I make my living, is paying attention to the details and paying attention to what you, the listener, is your time and energy and money goes into these, right? But you're right, there's a trend. And it's funny you brought that up because I am starting to see freestanding walls with, like, for example, the last wedding I just did, it was a freestanding champagne wall. They had the champagne glasses, and inside the glasses as like a stir, even though you don't know to stir for champagne, was the names of the people for the place cards.
Yes.
So you're right. I'm starting to see like freestanding, I mean, you talked about having to place cards in the freestanding object, but you're right. It's like three-dimensional objects, not just a tablescape.
Yes, and sometimes we etch on them. Other time it's almost of an acrylic on there. So we do a lot of. It's really what the client likes. And so sometimes we do like 5x7 tables that will say tables and their names, table 1 and their names, and we'll take that and we'll put it on a mirror, or we'll take that and we'll put it on a colorful board. So that's really have been a big trend. Also, a big trend is the hedge walls with the different size picture frames, and some can be a picture frame can be an antique gold, it can be a matte gold, all different sizes, and we're putting the seating assignments in there as well.
The hedge walls are huge. I mean, even with the portion of my photography business, I had the photo booth. Right now, the hedge walls, I do the green wall. I mean, that's my backdrop that I keep bringing out. It's a very popular item. People put their signage on it, their monogram on it, which you just gave a tip about your monogram. It's just interesting to see the trends, and I think that for the listeners, obviously, if you're listening to this and you're looking for somebody to do your paper products, reaching out to Pamela would be a great start, because she can service you, nationwide. But also, too, Pamela, you see the trends. You kind of see what's happening, and you can lead people and guide people, and want them to take their paper products to the next level. That's what you're there for, right? I mean, you can help them come up with different items. And so I'm assuming, though, all these trends are great, but let's kind of start now talking about pricing.
Here we go. And just as soon as we get in there, like everything else, there's so much cardstock and paper that is on back order. Because of what's going on right now. So with that, as anything else, Economics 101, pricing does go up. But I will tell you just a little bit about the different forms of printing, and the different forms of printing dictate the pricing.
So let's talk about the different forms of printing first, then.
Certainly. So the most expensive and the oldest form of pricing is called letterpress, and that's actually done with a plate. And it's a plate that's raised, and it has all the information for your invitation on it in the font that you want. You obviously get a proof before the plate is actually made, and it's a hard metal plate.
It's pressed in?
Yes. They take the ink, they put it on, and it's actually hand pressed into every single invitation, and then it dries. That's the most expensive, and that's the oldest form of printing, and that's called letterpress. Right up there with it is engraving. Engraving is the opposite. They take it and they press it from underneath, and it's raised. So letterpress, they take the plate and it's raised from the top in, and engraved is from the bottom up, and the ink is put on the plate, either way. So those are the two most expensive forms, and those take the longest. Like, as if we talk about lead time, those can be anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks out after you approve.
So what's the pros and the cons of that, then?
The pros are it's absolutely gorgeous. You can feel it. You can touch it. You're like, wow.
Oh, yeah. You know when something's letterpress. People might not know. Like, they might not know the term. But that you know when you're holding a letterpress invite.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes. And I always will get an email or something that, oh, my gosh, my friends opened it. They said, where did you get it? They loved it. And it's not only, the beautiful printing, but 9 times out of 10, it's on a much thicker cardstock, so it holds the ink and everything. So you're getting, like, you're feeling just like magic in your hands. It's just luxurious.
So I'm assuming the con is the price tag.
Yes. And those can run, and when I'm talking pricing, I'm talking probably a suite, meaning the invitation, the RSVP card, a liner, a dressing, wedding weekend card. We could start at anywhere from like $12 and up. And again, it just depends. And usually as your quantities go up, the unit price comes down. But then there's something just as beautiful, which is called thermography. It's a raised printing, but it's actually put through the printer. It comes out, the ink is wet, resin goes on it, it dries, and that is thermography. So it's still a raised print, but since you're not making a plate, it's less expensive, and that still can be done on about a 300 gram paper, which can be just as thick as letterpress. So it's still stately and beautiful.
And then what is a smaller tier of pricing for?
The smaller tier of pricing will be digital, and digital or offset printing is a flat print. Mm-hmm. So with digital, you could do 2 or 3 colors with no extra charge because it's all printed once. With letterpress and thermography, when you're printing with 2 colors, it has to get printed twice. With thermography, goes through the printing process twice. With letterpress, another plate is actually made for the second color.
So basically, pound or the paper, the quality, the thickness, the cardstock, the printing, this all affects your price tag.
Yes, exactly.
So you said something about pound. You said 300.
I know, grams in it. So that's just the lingo, and you know what? I really
is it just thickness?
Yes, I just say so when I'm using the terminology like thermography and letterpress, yeah. But when I'm meeting with a client, I don't use that terminology just because it gets confusing. It's like a whole new language. So I just say, so this is raised printing, this is like indented printing,
right?
And this is flat printing. And this is like the thinner, this is 1 layer, this is 2 layers.
So, it's interesting, though, because, we all hear about, the 5 C's when we talk about a diamond.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Right? And all of that affects, you can play with that, and it can affect your pricing.
Exactly.
Well, I would assume it's the same thing with what you're talking about.
That is a great analogy.
Right?
You're absolutely correct.
So it's
yes.
you just talked about the different types of printing that can affect your price. But now let's talk about the different type of cardstocks. I mean, obviously the lingo without getting the lingo, but you're basically, I would assume, rule of thumb, the thicker the cardstock, the more expensive, right?
Yes.
So,
and don't forget, too, the thicker the cardstock, the different printers they use.
Correct.
Because it has to go through whether it's laying flat and getting printed on top. So, yes, so there is... There's cotton cardstock that's beautiful, and you can get that in the smooth, which is about 90% of what I use. And then there's also beautiful cardstock called Lettra. It's 100% cotton, and that's always used for letterpress. And it's got this beautiful feel to it. It's developed by Crane, and it's a beautiful texture. It's soft, and when you open it, it's something you definitely didn't get online.
Yes. So it's funny because for you who lives and breathes this, you don't want to get and bore the listeners into the nitty gritty, but ultimately it really just comes down to what you just said. When you open it, that
yes.
this was not your 1-800 give me something.
This wasn't just mass produced yesterday. Yes.
It's the same thing for me though. When I do prints, I sell digitals, mm-hmm. So people can go make their own prints, and there's so many online companies, Shutterfly, Snapfish. But when you want it physically printed with my printer, there is a cardstock. I mean, it's not cardstock, but there is a paper that's being printed on it. You hold it, you're like, oh, this is not just a Shutterfly.
Yeah, you're
print.
paying attention to all that.
Right. So, but with that said, so what can affect the quality? Obviously the printing, mm-hmm. the cardstock. What's something else that can affect the pricing?
Yes, certainly. So the embellishments.
Okay.
And with the embellishments, that can be included with the wax seal, with tying the ribbons around it, with the vellum overlay.
Postage now.
So, I know. Postage, yes, and it just went up again. So good thing I buy the forever stamps. And then, I know. And then also, sometimes if you want the personalized stamps, or if you want the antique-looking stamps, or just different stamps, you end up paying more money for those stamps. So if a stamp is 22 cents and you're mixing it with the 52-cent stamps, but they're all personalized, you're going to pay 60 cents per stamp, or 27%, because obviously the people selling them, and you can get those usually online, need to make a profit. So that can definitely add into the pricing. But all about embellishments definitely do, because don't forget, it's not only the physical beautiful fabric or the wax seal that's getting put on there. It's the labor that goes into it.
Right. So now, what about, you mentioned quickly, but let's just kind of touch upon that before we take our break. What about turnaround time? You kind of just stuck that in there.
Okay, so I know. So usually with, and I'm just going to call it a raised print, which is thermography. Usually with that, it's about 2 weeks turnaround time after you approve the proof, and we can get into what a proof is. but it's usually about 2 weeks. Now, letterpress and engraving is probably anywhere from like 4 to 5 weeks. But just keep in mind, right now we're going into some of these printing companies are doing things related to the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, things of that nature for printing cards like that. But it is their slow time, quote unquote. So save the dates and getting started on your invitations, especially if you're getting married in May, April, May, and June is a good time to start it now because there could be quicker turnaround times. The more you get into the thick of wedding season, that can slow down. All the companies on a weekly basis give us an update on what's the turnaround time for printing. Now, with digital, that's the quickest turnaround time because it's a flat print. It's almost like a mass production of something. So that's the quickest turnaround time. And then there's things that we print in-house, and that can be table numbers, place cards, maybe just a group of 20 menus, things like that. That we can turn around in probably 5 to 7 business days.
Well, what we'll do is we'll take a quick break, and then when we get back, I think we should touch upon proofing, and I would love to do some myth busting a little bit. Like I want to talk about when should people send out invitations?
Okay, certainly,
and save the dates.
Certainly.
I appreciate you being here, and hey, if you like what you're hearing, I encourage you to check out our website at sarahzarella.com. And don't forget, you can actually subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. And I would so appreciate if you left a fabulous review on Apple Podcast. Even better, share it with a friend. It's a great way to show your support. And now, let's get back to the episode. All right, well, welcome back to Wedding Secrets Unveiled. Before the break, we were talking with Pamela all about trends with the invitations, paper products. We were talking a little bit about pricing and what affects pricing with your invitations, turnaround times. But we did want to kind of get into a little bit about proofing. So, Pamela, tell us a little bit about proofing.
Certainly. So with the invitations, what we do is obviously we pick out your ink colors. We help you choose your fonts, based on your style and setting the tone for your wedding. And with that, I work with you on your wording. And with your wording, are you inviting, are both parents issuing it? Are just the bride and groom issuing it? Is one set of parents issuing it? So we walk through that with all the information that you want to include on your invitation, on your wedding weekend card, and also, your meal choices and anything that we need on your RSVP card. Once I have all that information, I type it up. I send it to you. We go back and forth. And then once all the wording is correct, then we send it and it will be put into the fonts that you choose. And just to talk a little bit about wording, with invitations, what is extremely helpful is if you have all the information for your wedding weekend cards, because 9 times out of 10, there is a welcome reception and or a breakfast. So we need to know what time the welcome reception will take place, what time the breakfast will take place. And then one thing that's also important is your room blocks and things like that. Do you have a wedding website? Is that all up to date? Because you want all that information, obviously, to go onto your wedding weekend card. Once we have all the information, as I stated, we send it out. You will get a proof within your fonts and everything like that. You're going to see exactly how it's going to look laid out. Now, people ask me, do you get a physical proof? No, they do not print a physical proof. Way too expensive. We'd be losing a lot of trees doing that. What you do is you get a digital proof. So with the digital proof,
which is also too why, not to interrupt you, but it's also too why you can service some of the listeners that are not even here in New England.
Exactly. Good point. And then with that, I suggest that everybody prints it out. This generation, everybody is so used to just scrolling through. And I said, no, print it out. Take your time when you're not in the office, when you're home, relaxing, having a little tea. Just take your time, look it all over, check over the wording. And I always say to somebody, just have somebody else who's like not close to this, just take a look at it. So with that, then once all the wording and the layout is there, or you say, you know what, I really don't like the gold thermography, I want to switch to the black, we can switch that as well. And then once you sign off on that and I have everybody initial the pages, then we send it out and it's put into production. And sometimes you can have 1 or 2 or 3 proofs. Just keep in mind, each time that a proof is produced, that is labor, so there is fees that are involved. There's usually a layout fee for the first layout of everything, and then secondly, once the changes keep making. So it's really important to have all the information up front so you're not keep changing the wording or have to add on.
So, question. We've gone over like all the different options. We've gone over the like what affects pricing. We're at the proofing stage. Let's now pretend it's ready to go out, right? What's the turnaround now?
Okay, certainly. When does it go out? Okay, so this is
we've proofed it.
I know.
We've had our tea. We've looked it over.
I called you. You're ready to pick them up. Okay, great. Usually, I mean, and what happened in 2021 was just a little bit crazy. I mean, we were sending them out so close to the wedding dates and things.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Oh, yes.
Well, not forgot about. How could you? But you must have been reprinting and reprinting. I mean, you must have had people go from letter stock back to digital at that point.
Like some of it, we just, like as soon as we knew, we held off. And I got to tell you, all the companies, everybody was great about everything, just charged cost because everybody's in the same boat. But one thing that I did realize, it all worked out. I literally had a change of 3 venues. It went from inside the venue to outside the venue to the client's tented wedding. The invitations went out 7 weeks before the wedding to get back 3 weeks before the wedding, and it all worked out. So with that, I tell everybody, listen, if what happened in 2021 with everybody rising to the occasion and either emailing or trying to get the RSVP back, everything worked out. It was all hands on deck. But now that we're over and we're through with that, the mailing of the invitation. So the RSVP date should be 5 weeks before your wedding date. The reason being, give that last week, the week to call everybody who hasn't sent in their RSVP or hasn't RSVP'd online. So now we're just down a week, and now you have 4 weeks. You have to put together your tables, and you have to send all the information to the caterer, send all the tables that you have to the florist. So now we're talking about, so now you're 3 weeks before the wedding, and there's other things that you have to do. Now, mailing them out, back up another 4 weeks before your RSVP date. So that's what I have, and it's also listed on my website so that people, I just cut and paste when people ask me. So that's about it. So really plan on a good, like signing off on your proof a good 3.5 months before your wedding date. And believe me, things get backed up, and I'm away, I'm this, but it's still the same turnaround time. There's nothing I can do with that. But give yourself, start the process at least 6 months before, and then, sign off on that proof a good 3.5 to 3 months before your wedding.
So how about save the dates?
Save the dates. It really depends on the time of year. Like, for instance, even though people say like a year out, I say 8 to 10 months. But if you're in the summer of 2022, I wouldn't send you save the dates to the fall of the fall of now. So if your wedding is 2023, let's say in June, July, right now is a good time to get those save the dates out. But this is what I tell everybody. If you're sending out your save the date, your wedding website is on it. Is your wedding website complete with all the information that you want to invite the guests to? Not your rehearsal dinner, all the guests to. That could be the welcome reception. That can be your breakfast. Also, if the hotels that you're going to provide transportation for, or if you're going to be providing transportation at all. And then your room blocks is really important. Are your room blocks set up? Because once your room blocks are set up, I suggest to my wedding planning clients, send out all the links to all the room blocks to your VIP, to the parents, to the grandparents, to Great Aunt Edna, to your wedding party. Send those out and tell them in 2 weeks your save the dates go out. And once your save the dates go out, all your guest lists will now have access to your room blocks. So then that's how I work it with sending out the save the dates.
So it's interesting you say that because I wholeheartedly agree. I have a lot of couples, obviously, it will always be a trend. So I guess it's not a trend. It's a nice staple, nice traditional to have your picture on your save the date. It just creates a personal touch, right?
Definitely.
So I have a lot of couples say to me, like, more than a year out, like I want to start doing that. And I actually have to kind of reel them in a little bit because there is a point when too far out, you get lost in the shuffle.
I couldn't agree more.
And so I tell them the same thing. I was so happy to hear that, like, a professional invitation person saying the same thing than me, is that 8 to 10 months is a sweet spot, because the thing is, you don't want to be too far out that they look at it and they forget about it. But then obviously the whole point of save the date is you want people to save the date. Also, too, you have to think about time of year. You don't want it to get lost in the shuffle of holiday cards.
Exactly.
Unless it is going to be your holiday card. So, think about that too. But I always say that when it comes to save the dates, honestly, you don't want to go too far out. You really don't.
Oh, I totally agree, because when you're in, for instance, like the summer of 2022, you're really not thinking about getting a hotel room in Newport for 2023. You're kind of enjoying that moment. But once the fall comes, everybody kind of regroups and starts making their plans. So I totally agree. Too early, I think it can just get lost in the shuffle.
And also, too, like you were saying, make sure that when you send those out, you have everything in place. So whether it be your invitations or save the dates, like your room blocks have to be in place, right? So
yeah, definitely.
So what do you do for like the VIPs? Like, especially since if you're sending these out to people, but you want to make sure that like the really important people get their room blocks.
Yes,
like,
get
how do you
first
handle
access.
that?
So what I tell them to do is send an email blast. I said, and some people are like, oh, I'm going to text it. But I say, even have your maid of honor and the best man in charge of sending it all to their wedding party and say, hey, in the next 2 weeks, you've got to book your hotel rooms. If not, the save the dates are going out, and the rest of the guest list will have access to it. But we start with the parents and the grandparents, like really close, because I have them like, I got to send them to my parents, my grandparents, my aunts, and my cousins. Those are really important. And sometimes we find that 10 months before the wedding, the room block is all filled up. So we either call the hotel and ask for more, and 10 months out, sometimes they'll give us more rooms, or we'll take off the website that there is a room block. We'll just list it there so that they're still able to book at that hotel.
Yeah, because I think people have to understand. I mean, obviously we know this because we're in the industry, but hotels only block off a certain amount of rooms per time. Doesn't mean that you can't call back and open up more, but you are right. So you got to kind of just keep tabs on that, and obviously have your VIPs jump on it first, especially if you're at a hotel room that they only have a certain amount of rooms. So, okay, so we talked about save the dates and invitations and proofing and pricing. What about those little extras that you see out and about? What else, are you doing for people that you see?
So one thing that we do is we do welcome boxes, and they're the white gable or the craft boxes. So one thing that's so nice, and I've had so many people comment on them, are the welcome boxes. So what a welcome box or bag is when they can either be passed out at the welcome reception, or we do deliver to the hotels. So at the hotels, you check in. They have a list of everybody staying there, and on the RSVP card, I do suggest that people put where they're staying, because again, people can book outside that block. So we give a full list to the hotel, and as the guests check in, they get a welcome box, and it has a personalized tag, sometimes a ribbon on top, and inside of it has the itinerary. It has when everything will be taking place, as well as the transportation schedule, and then it has usually bottled water. It has like some chips, and people like something sweet, something along like the chocolate, the granola bars, sometimes the little cookies, and we just did one with the pug's face on it. So
sometimes the necessity, the Tylenol.
Yes, yes.
The little, like, what's the trend right now that I'm seeing?
The powder.
Yes.
The hydrating
power.
Yes, the hydrating. Yes, we see that. And I just had someone put in the 2 cans of the little espresso coffee. I loved that. I loved it. So we had that. So that is huge. And it's just like, it's their first taste of them going to the wedding, and that you thought
and
about
being hosted
that.
and
Yes,
entertained.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's really nice. And then with the Airbnbs, we can't deliver to, so we always bring those to the welcome reception. And then also something that's a lost art is the thank you notes. So we do still have people ordering the thank you notes. And Sarah, as you know, the trend that really hasn't gone out is the picture of the bride and groom on their thank you note.
Yes. So about the thank you notes, right? I just to kind of touch upon that, and then I kind of want to ask you about a trends that you see. We talked earlier. Like, I just feel like a lost art, right? Like, in general. Like, I mean, even if I get a birthday gift, for my kids, I'm sending out thank you cards. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely, it's not expected, but it's really nice. Obviously, with your wedding, I think it's obviously more people are doing the thank yous than if I'm just talking about like a kid's birthday party. But you're right. You can't forget about the thank you note. You're right. Just like to say the date, the trend is to end on, like, you open it up with a picture of yourself as a couple and you end with a trend of a picture of yourself as bride and groom.
Yeah, and the thank you note is an acknowledgement to the people that they came and that also if they did give a gift, you
Right.
always should acknowledge it. And sometimes, people would say like, oh, it was cash like that I put in an envelope. I wonder if they got it. I wonder if they got
Right.
it. So it's just a nice acknowledgement to say, oh, I got the card. Oh, I got this. And thank you so much. And with writing the thank you note, you should always reference like, thank you for the salad spinner. It's Alex's favorite to have salad every night, or just something of that nature.
Too, right. Like, I mean, there are different ways of doing thank you notes. I mean, sometimes people just do a blanket thank you note, but it is nice to have the personal touch, but also too just the acknowledgement. Because I mean, how many times as a guest, if you're like, oh shoot, did they get that cash? But if you acknowledge it, like in it, they're like, okay, phew, you got it. Like, or like genuinely, I've given people things. I'm not even kidding. Like, I remember one of my first friends that got married. I gave her, like, I went all out for her, like I thinking that like because it was my first friend. I forgot that, like, girlfriend, you're going to have a lot more people getting married, so put money away. But I went all out, and I got her, like, a panini maker, right? And it was, like, one of the biggest ticket items on her registry. But, and you know what? She never got it. And I never knew that. And so I brought it to the reception. I don't know what happened to it. I put it on the table. Like, I don't know what happened to it. But I remember, like, years later going to, and I got it just like a generic thank you card, like, thank you for coming to the wedding. Years later, I asked her, I'm like, so how's the panini made? I just asked her, like, how did it ever make out, or how did she like it? And she's like, what? She never got it.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
That's why it's important for acknowledgement, because sometimes you just want to make sure that you get what people give you. Like, you never know if it gets lost in the mail, if someone's mailing something. But anyway.
Oh, I totally agree. And you don't have to get overwhelmed with it. If you do like 5 a night, 10 a night, just do a few. But it is the lost art of a handwritten note.
It is. And also, too, as far as those, like, just a little tip for me, for the listeners, is I know you're anxious to get, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's two types of people: the people who dread doing their thank you notes, and the people who are very anxious to do it. And the people who are very anxious, I love you. You're type A. You're my types of peeps. But I get people who ask me as a photographer to send them over, like, a picture, like, literally the week after they get married. And that's a really difficult position to put your photographer in, because now you have a gazillion pictures that they have to go through and pick, like, that one that they think you'll like for the thank you. And also, too, you might think that just as quick as, like, picking out pictures, but it's not. With the photography programs, we have to upload all the pictures, sort through all the pictures. I mean, there's a lot. So just so you know, if you're listening, please wait to do your thank you cards until you can see them all from your photographer and let your photographer just kind of work through the timeline that they promised. But with that said, I know we opened up the episode, Pamela, talking about trends that you're seeing. What are some trends that you're kind of seeing leave a little bit?
Oh, my goodness. And even though I do a lot of printing and that's my bread and butter, but I have to say, all the signage, I'm so happy to see all the signage go out. Like the signage that says guest book, card box, all of that is, and it's so self-explanatory. Like once someone passes it and kind of sees a pen and a guest book open and some sort of vessel for envelopes, cards, then they'll get it. And then also photo booth signs, things like that. The only signage that I really see is a signature cocktail to state what's there, but just getting rid of like so much of the signage. And it's like, even like, thank you for coming on the bar. Like, that's not the place to put it. Like, it's just, I am happy to see, like, the dessert station, like, sweet treats, like, all of that is going away. And I understand if you have to say, like, something, is, like, this has peanut butter or something like that, but everybody knows, like, a macaroon is a macaroon, chocolate chip cookie is a chocolate chip cookie. So, and I don't, I think like the whole presence of a tablescape with beautiful flowers and desserts can stand alone. It's
so funny you say that, because obviously that's where you're making money. So I mean, if they're going to save on all the random signs, they can actually put their money into something of substance with the signage, right?
Totally agree. Could not agree more.
You could do your liners, but it's so funny. I'm laughing because So, guys, if you haven't been realizing, the industry comes with trends, right? It's really a trend.
Ebbs and flows.
Ebbs and flows. They come in and out. And I got married in the time of signage. So,
Sarah's basement. Sarah's basement. Like more than half, and this is a big house. It was just, she took me around one corner. This is for the welcome reception, and shelves and shelves and shelves. This is for the cocktail hour. This is for the other side of the cocktail hour. I was like, oh my gosh. We use a golf cart. To get all of this stuff down there. It got to be comical. I was like, oh my gosh.
But I'm only laughing because, like, you talk about, like, the signage, and, like, literally there's pictures of, like, my signage that I did at my wedding, and it's like, this is the guest book. Like, no
kidding.
Or, like, this is the photo booth. Or dessert is sweet. Like, I had some, like, just,
yes.
like, no kidding, Sarah.
I know.
No kidding. Like, here's your favors.
I got to tell you, one thing that you did that I absolutely loved was, it was more on the rustic side of your tablescapes were, but one thing that I will not forget is the cutting board, and it was small, and it had the handle with the little
is it my menu?
Like with the menu on it. That looked good, and the way we put it on, and we put the and then the food went right on the table. It was like family style for the first course. That I would never forget. And like, so for today, you could paint that a color. Like, if you painted that a color, that will be in. Like, if it was white with, like, a peach, menu on it, and you had bright flowers, you could lean that up against a tablescape, and that would be in. But that is something that you can.
That's my one side you liked.
No, we liked them all.
No, but I'm just laughing because you're right, because I am seeing a little bit more of simplicity. I mean, like you said, people know. I think what it is that those trends that started, like the dessert table, those signs were there because there wasn't really dessert tables.
Certainly,
so,
yes. Yep.
Or the photo booth. Like, there really wasn't photo booths. I mean, granted, I only got married 7 years ago. But what I'm trying to say is the trends are here now. Like, we all have dessert tables. We all have the photo booths.
The flip-flops.
Yeah,
the feet retreat, dancing feet. I'm like, no, we're good. Everybody knows. Everybody just put them on.
So I think you're right. I think bringing it back, the signage is we don't need it. We know it's flip flops. Take it. Like,
and again, being a wedding planner, I see when people walk in, they want to see, like, if they're walking into the ceremony, they want to just see flowers. Right. And one thing we didn't talk about, programs. List everybody there, so you have the programs. Okay, this is a nice touch. And then when they go into, like, the cocktail hour, like, cute little personalized cocktail napkins, and that's what we did, and a signature cocktail, sign. But nobody's ever looking like, is there any more signage here, Or, like, and again, like, if there is a photo booth, great. If there isn't, they're not like, they don't have a photo booth. Like, there's certain things.
Oh, okay, I'll leave you with this, right? Like, literally for my photo booth, Steve and I were kind of just going through it and just kind of seeing what we need to replace. Like, what stuff. And so Steve holds up the sign. I'm not even kidding, because we come with the photo booth sign, and we put it up, and it's in a nice frame, and he's like, can we just get rid of this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? He goes, I think everybody knows there's a photo.
Yes.
So, needless to say, I'm sorry, guys, if you're looking for the custom photo booth sign that comes with our photo booth. My husband made me get rid of it.
Steve personally got rid of it.
He says, we're good. We get it. It's a photo booth.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, no. It's true. And it's like less is more. And sometimes I'm putting everything up, and I feel like it's looking like granimals. Like, it looks like everything's too matchy, And that's something that I don't like to do, because you want everything to have, like, a beautiful aesthetic and its own personality. So we're just getting away from all that signage.
So then, therefore, it kind of frees up some money to put your money into the signage that you do have, or into the paper products that you do have. What are some key points that couples should be asking their invitation and paper companies when they are inquiring, to make sure that they are working with a professional company and to ensure that their wedding day is going to be absolutely perfect?
Certainly. So with that, I always, first of all, they should do a little bit of homework and just make sure that they're dealing with a well-seasoned professional, how many years she has been in business. And also, if an invitation company is willing to give you information about past clients that can tell you their experience with working with themselves. That's one. One thing that's very important is custom. Everybody wants custom invitations. Do they do custom invitations? It's extremely important to be upfront about your price point and what you're getting for that price point. And it's just like going in to buy your wedding dress. I mean, you don't want to tell them that your budget is $6,000-7,000 where it's really $5,000. You fall in love with a dress at $7,500, and realistically, you can afford $5,000. So you really want to be upfront with where you want to be price point wise, and then most importantly, you want to make sure you bond with the person's personality. Is it someone that you want to work with? Because 9 times out of 10, not only do we do their invitations, but we do their menus, their programs, their place cards, escort cards, a little bit of signage, welcome bags, and everything of that nature. So it's just really important that you have a good rapport with the person that you're working with. But again, well-seasoned, have good reviews. You like good quality of product, good customer service, and lastly, you have a good rapport with them.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of Wedding Secrets Unveiled. You helped our listeners become one step closer to their journey of a stress-free wedding planning. Can you tell everybody where they could find you?
Certainly. New England Invitations and PDR Events is located in East Greenwich, Rhode Island, 36 Main Street, East Greenwich.
And what I'll also do for our listeners is we'll have all of Pamela's information on our episode show notes, which you can find on our blog and our website page, which is at sarahzarella.com/podcast. So thanks, Pamela.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been a blast.
Thank you for listening to Wedding Secrets Unveiled. I appreciate you being here. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, I want to tell you something. I encourage you to check out our website at sarahzarella.com. We love photographing while having fun, of course. Check out our podcast page on our website for our show notes along with upcoming episodes with your local wedding experts. Listen in as we help you plan your epic event. And don't forget that you can actually subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening so you never miss an episode. I would so appreciate if you left a review for us on Apple Podcasts. Even better, share it with a friend. It's a great way to show your support and let us know what you think. If you know any wedding experts that would like to be a guest, we have a link directly on our website where they can let us know. Thank you for listening.